All right. Hello. Welcome to the Steve and Dan Show, Season 1, Episode 2. Um, I'm Steve, and that is Dan.
Hi.
Hey, Dan. And our special guest is Mr. Kantey. Appreciate you being here today. Just real quick, I'm an entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur my whole life, husband, father, kids, all that kind of stuff. And come from the general contracting world mostly, and really was frustrated with that and was looking for something different, wanted more freedom in my life, wanted the ability to travel more with my kids. And I felt kind of like my job owned me. So that's why I was looking for something different and kind of how I got involved in the community. And it's just been a really interesting change for me. As far as personal growth has been a great part of it, but also, being able to get that digital lifestyle and kind of cut the leash from my business. Felt like it was kind of choking me and owned me rather than me owning it. So that's been a real great adventure. Dan, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I'd love to. So came from a career in sales, a 10-year career in sales. Last 5 years was in software sales for B2B marketing software. And my big realization when I came into SFM was just reaching a point where I realized that every income goal I'd set myself in the past, whatever that may be, as soon as I'd reached that goal, nothing would really change. And I had the big light bulb when I was looking for enterprise software sales jobs in London, and suddenly realized that whatever income I was going for at that stage, if it had never brought me fulfillment in the past, why was I convincing myself that that was the way to go to bring me happiness and fulfillment in the future? And as soon as I realized that it wasn't, and I was just chasing something that wasn't real, that was when I realized I had to change. And it was that moment, as we often say, things appear at the right time when we're ready to hear them. Advert appeared on YouTube. I was looking for videos of Tony Robbins, and that's how I got involved in SFM. And it's just been, so I'm fairly new in the community. Steve, you've been in SFM quite a bit longer than me. But yeah, in terms of 7 months of personal development for myself, it's been a very, very exciting journey. So that's just a little bit of background of how I got involved in SFM. Thank you, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. And something just I want to point out how great it is that, Dan and I have become friends, Dave and I have become friends, and you're in the UK, Dan. Yeah. I'm in the Eastern US, and David, you're
in South Africa, isn't it?
Mm. Right?
Amazing. Yeah, South Africa.
So, Dan, why don't you, sorry, David. Tell us a little bit about you. Just kind of back up from the SFM and the community. Who's David? A little bit deeper than what we did, because kind of people see us every week.
Okay, yeah, Stevens. I've had such an interesting life. I'm actually just busy with a blog post, my first actually, saying that, and the opening line is that I've lived my entire life in a state of creativity. And so I was in a schooling system that didn't allow for any of it. I rebelled like crazy. I was a 60s kid, went through all that crazy sort of rock and roll stuff, and ended up finding music when I was 12 years old, and that was it. My whole life changed completely. I ended up going to Australia for a year. Don't want to really comment on Australia, but came back to South Africa, went to music college to study for my bachelor of music degree. And then a very interesting things happened in my life. I've been interested in personal development since I was about 14 years old. I ended up wanting to go and study under teachers in India, because I'd discovered through an experience on Table Mountain, that an experience that I later discovered is what people start looking for in meditation. And it led me on a journey that I ended up living in a community of people with similar values for 25 years, that allowed me to grow as a person and allowed me to grow self-growth wise, hugely. I met my partner, Helen, through that. I then learned a craft. I first started learning jewelry, and that was the most incredible thing. I love making jewelry. For 2 years. I was apprenticed there. Moved on to being totally apprenticed in a batik industry we started. And I started off scrubbing dye bars under, the teacher that I had was very strict in some ways, and you had to do things properly. So I started right at the bottom, eventually graduated to dyeing fabrics. We were dyeing fabrics in a fairly high-tech, low-tech fashion. I don't need to go into the detail, but we took very high-tech dyes and sort of dumbed them down and made them so workable in a workshop. And it was unique. It was very chemically orientated, not very healthy, but I learned that craft, as it were, and then slowly and slowly moved into the actual waxing application style side of it. And then eventually was given an art pad by my mentor. He said, "You must draw." I thought you were nuts because I was kicked out of art school. And it led to ultimately a 30-year career in art, starting off in batik and then graduating to acrylics and oils, and established myself as one of the premier artists in our premier tourist resort in South Africa called Plettenberg Bay. And that has been, and along the way, never stopped making music, concerts all over South Africa. Went into public speaking through my passion of self-growth. I became quite, well sought after. I didn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy talking about something as deep as this on the public platform, because your charisma, and I do have charisma through whatever it is that I do have on stage, and people get caught up in the charisma, and I just don't like that. It's a very difficult to explain. It's a very personal journey, and I shut it all down. And grew to big audiences. A couple of times it was about 3,000 or 4,000 people, and I then have this career art-wise and live, and I work at my music. So I've done my own CDs. I haven't done concerts for a while because the CD has taken up so much time. I write orchestrally and my guitar, classical guitar with certain effects. I have a home studio. I paint. My paintings take a lot of time. I'm very, very dedicated to my craft. I was taught to over-deliver in terms of who you are in whatever you do in life, and that goes into my paintings. That's a whole history that I could go into. That's something that will be part of my own ongoing journey, sharing with people. But, meditation plays a huge part of my life, always will. It's like brushing my teeth in the morning. And, I love working. I'm absolutely a workaholic. I love my leisure time. At the moment, to stand-up paddleboarding with my partner. And we spend as much time on the lagoon right in front of our house as possible. But the work carries on, and even that becomes work sometimes. And so that's really a little bit of background as to what I do. Every picture, one of my pictures just took 3 months to do. I don't mind that kind of hours and hours and hours and hours. I actually love it. That's why I said just creativity in any aspect, whether it's making a meal, whatever I do, there's always seemed to be I can't help that aspect of my life always being present. So I hope that helps a little bit.
When it's something you're passionate about, it really doesn't feel like effort. You might have a momentary struggle, but time, when it's something you're truly passionate about, time sort of goes away because you're so immersed in it. At least that's what I found for me. I'm sure it's the same for you. I've seen a number of your paintings, and they're fantastic. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So got a nice picture of, who you are, very much an artist in every sense of the word. And so where were you? What were you looking for? What were you doing when you first came across SFM? What was your mindset? Were you looking for something tell us a little bit about, where you were at the very beginning of your journey with SFM.
Yeah, great question, Stephen. I had the art. Art is a very, very, and music, funnily enough, even music even more so now, and that's why I made a choice not to be a professional musician. There are a number of reasons, but this is definitely one of them. Art, and I know, you can imagine how many artists I know in my 30 years of being a producing professional artist. It's very financially up and down. There are one or two artists always at the top, very top of the pile, which become, they work with an agent. It's a very, very rarefied field. You think of the very popular names like, the Picassos and those kind of people. In every country, there are those sought after fine artists, galleried artists. I'm a galleried artist, so I'm at that level. But to get beyond that is a certain something that I've actually, yes, I aspired to it, but I'm too, it's very difficult to define why that's not going to be probably a result of my present career. It can be, but it's a very, very niche driven thing. There's so many elements to it, and it's very rare. Same in music. Why is there only just the Beatles? There's a handful of people who really make it to that level where money is never a concern to them. So money has been something that I've needed to work around very, very creatively, frustratingly, because you can sell, a huge amount of art. I've sold probably 6 months to a year's worth of art in one day. And then you can go for 2, 3, 4 months without selling a thing. So your sense of planning, it's just always been risk. Everything's been risk. And made a lot work for myself. I mean, it's not as though I haven't created an incredible lifestyle with a lot of sacrifices because of just the natural simplicity that we live our lives by. But we live in a luxury estate surrounded by, seriously wealthy people, and yet we live on a smell of an oil rag and have a second home in the mountains. And this is how you make life work very, very carefully. I'm a much bigger risk taker than my partner.
Sure.
And so I've blown a lot of money on a lot of things. And so there's always that pressure. And then this is how weird it can be. 2014 or 13 was the best year of my art career. 14, yeah. I was getting pictures into billionaires' homes, the best homes in our tourist town, and Cape Town. The similar thing was happening. And you think, wow, this is finally, I've achieved that next level of recognition, the final sort of step as a successful, more or less a decorative artist, I would call myself. And the very next year, the worst year of my art career, because the currency here fell apart due to a president that really needs to be impeached, and and it's the same story. But I went for 12 months with not a single sale. It was, it was like the universe was really going to unfold something unusual for me, because it's never ever happened. I think I've had 3 months before, and I start to stress after 3 months, a year, and then I also got extremely ill. I nearly died for 2 days during my illness. 3 months on my bed. I had internal bleeding from a very bad episode of the NH1 flu virus that was causing my capillary walls to be attacked by the virus, and I had internal bleeding. Wow. And so I was saved by some whatever reason, a force of nature, I guess. And, after that, and the stress of that year, and I came to some amazing understandings about myself and finance, but I was really something in me snapped art-wise. I'd also reached a level where maybe my art career had kind of fulfilled everything I'd wanted it to do. I don't know. I always loved painting, but
Interesting.
yeah, it is interesting, Steve. Something changed so deeply within me
And that was
that it was
all of that was 2012.
2015 was
Sorry,
the big 2015 was the whole year where everything changed. And
that was
so you had
the
this
year of your
big,
illness and the really
yeah,
tough year with your art business as well.
yeah, that's right.
Wow, yeah,
Absolutely. And
that is a tough year.
that was a tough year. And you kind of, I am not by choice, I'm an Army vet. I served on our front line. And so, there's a lot of stuff I've done that make me, I grew up in a tough mentoring program in terms of personal growth. And I'm amazed at how tough I am. I don't think there's many things that I couldn't deal with. The pain of that illness was, I can't begin to describe how painful it was. Night after night after night, as the virus attacked my capillaries. And you cope, and I don't like medication for pain unless it's that bad. And even that, occasionally I would use it when it just got too much. But, you find you're made of steel at a level that you just don't know. And I think all human beings have that capacity. It's not unique to David. And what happened at that point, Stephen Dan, was that I was looking for something else. I had no idea what. I had lost so much money on stupid get-rich schemes. The famous MLMs, health product MLMs. I don't want to mention them by name, but the ones that we all know.
Everybody knows them.
Yeah, and I always thought, gosh, I can create the time to have another income stream. This would be so wise. I didn't want to go the standard art route of turning my work into prints. It just, I don't know, I was stunned in America to see the price of, successful artist prints. And another artist who's been very successful like me kept on saying to me, David, but I've sent my kids through university on my prints. I just can't do it. I don't know what's made me stop. And maybe it is because there's a bigger picture for David Kantey. And I waste a lot of money on stupid online schemes, the click this, click that kind of nonsense. And I learned the hard way, but I knew what I didn't want. So I never watch a YouTube ads. I do now. I'm passionate about them because of the business we're in. But I'd watch two: a Hyundai car ad where a kid got a message spelled out in the desert by Hyundai to say hi, Dad, and he was in the space station. And this was Stuart Ross talking behind an Apple computer, which first caught my eye because I'm an Apple freak. And he was talking about personal development of business. I thought, well, I'd love to listen to what this trend is. I forgot that I was watching an ad.
Yeah.
I got so absorbed in his story, explaining about digital life and, everything about it. And first, and apart from that, the sincerity of this man, and I'm calling him a man now because I don't know who he was, just struck such a note in me, such a deep note. And it was sort of a talk of, in that thing of earning an income online through this academy. And I thought, well, that's the first thing I've ever heard that fits exactly, because I had a checklist now, what I was looking for to create another income stream for myself, whether it was going to work for somebody in my town or something. But I kind of hadn't really thought too much about online because I was you get to a point where it's like survival. We were thinking of leaving our home. So that's how close it was.
From that point there, what was it that you felt was really different about SFM from the other MLM opportunities? You know, what was the specific thing that made you know that this was right for David Kantey?
Okay, the specific thing, Dan, is the ununderstandable equation of Stuart Ross. It was something about Stuart, and today I still resonate. I'm going to be fascinated if and when I meet Stuart, what our relationship is, because there's an innate understanding about Stuart. Everything he says, I understand innately. And so it was first of all the personality. And then what resonated about SFM was that I didn't even know it at the time. I could trust what this man was doing. And then, he was talking money figures that are very glamorous. They are glamorous, let's face it. You know, I know that money doesn't generate happiness. You know, gosh, I'm in my 60s, you kind of learn these things, and I've sat with enough people who are dying to know that's the last thing that's on their mind. And wealthy people, very wealthy. So,
it sounds like it's Stuart's authenticity, because at least
totally authenticity.
That was a big part of it. Is that they seemed very genuine, authentic.
That's exactly what it was. And I kind of, every time I went through these sort of, I didn't want to be stupid. You have this kind of massive, it's not skepticism, it's concern. And so, I did my research as well. I listened to the whole ad, right? It was 5 minutes, 50, something like that. I clicked on the link and then put in my email address, watched every single video as it came in, couldn't wait to get the next one, and so on and so on. Got to the people who had been successful. By then I was pretty hooked. Greg and Fiona Scott made a massive impression on me, as did Guy and Ilan, being two bankers in New York and being Israeli, or I don't know if they certainly have Israeli parents or something in that nature. And that, I just thought, they're the toughest business people in the world. And so those factors all, made me, when the application form came up, I just took it, did it, and the very next day did my membership, filled in my membership form.
So as an artist, you had a highly technical background in digital concepts and digital technologies, right?
Yeah, that's right. I did, Steve.
I'm having a little bit of fun with you because
you're having fun, because just in the digital side, I'm an avid Photoshop user, and my music studios are complex initially, if that's what you mean. But in terms of digital, to make money, from a laptop lifestyle was just skepticism. But this was, and the point I'm getting to is that here was an actual syllabus. The old points. There was a genuine syllabus. The moment I opened up those modules, and the whole website, I knew I had that syllabus. I had the tools and the training. I had mentoring. That was the big thing. I always thought from the beginning, I want to be trained by Stuart. I want to look over his shoulder. That was my goal. So then the campus just, was an additional bonus, and that's become huge. The community, like we've become friends, but it's the fact that there is a product. It is a branded product. People can be skeptical. They can think what they like. There's nothing like it yet on the planet. And I've joined, like I'm sure you have, and Dan have, because I wanted to learn. I have joined a lot of the famous brand people, and none of them have a syllabus for a start. You learn over their shoulder. Anybody can wing that. You can have charisma. I could probably do it and have a big following if did it well.
I think
But
you should.
yeah, exactly. And it's you know, you're going to get a lot of no starters, but you'll take their money. This was a product and a product line and mentoring that genuinely want you to succeed, kind of over and above the monetary value. And then you get to know very quickly that personal growth is the cornerstone of the whole business. And another huge factor for me, you know, and this is just very personal, I was sent the book Science of Getting Rich, I think during the video series. And that book was a book that was given to me by my mentor when I was 20. And I kind of read it, but it didn't sink in. And he knew why. His teachings were based around something, the same book, but very different modern language. And it was like the universe said, David, go for this. And I had no money. I had nothing. I was down to, you know, look, I've got 3 months left to live here. You know, I can, you know, you can go and stay in the flat in town and I'll have no overheads, but I have to give up my art class, and we can survive. I had some emergency savings and I had my retirement savings, but I then actually ended up cashing that all in and just going for the one-on-one mentoring.
So this is a good point then, David, because you mentioned the skepticism. You know, a lot of people, me included, when you join SFM, people are often coming from a place of you know, pain, or they're not happy with the way things are. And you mentioned about your story in 2015. So what advice would you give to someone who's maybe in a place that they're not happy with in their life, and they're not sure whether SFM is right for them? So from your point of view, now being on the other side of that and coming out of that, you know, that metaphorical hole, so to speak, what advice would you give to someone from your position now, looking back on where you came and how that journey has shaped you over the last couple of years?
You want the humorous version or the real version?
Oh, go on, let's go.
Humorous version.
Humorous and real.
Humorous and real. Well, I'm not going to use expletives. For goodness sake, join the academy and change your life. You know, no. What genuinely is there is what I've just covered. That the mentoring. Look, it has to be qualified, and this is something that, you know, in the syllabus call that I had with Rebecca Bromley, people who are in the back office working on the syllabus all the time. This information Stuart asked me to submit, and really the Academy should be incredibly proud of the fact that we are a tertiary education system. We're just online. When I go to university, I can read up about the entire course, and you go and speak to somebody and you get really, really filled in about every opportunity that's available. Plus, and this is one of Stephen's favorite things, let's filter the system so people can go into the right course. Because the SFM, the DEA aspect is vast and it's growing rapidly, and it has a goal of becoming the housing scheme of the best digital courses and training on the planet, and they're well on the way. They're certainly way ahead of anybody else. But I'm exceptionally proud of the fact that we have a genuine, very deep, almost open-ended syllabus now. You know, like somebody once said to me, one of the top Photoshop teachers in the world said, "You will never plumb Photoshop's depth. Depth. No human being can." It's so brilliantly written in terms of what you can use it for. I think we are headed that way too. I think we're fast approaching a point where no one person could master all the skills that are going to be offered in the system. It's just too vast. So on that point, you know, what would I say to people coming into the system? Completely trust your gut. Ultimately, there is nothing. I had to just go, you are not going to be supported by anybody. Why would they? This is an untried, it's like I've never spoken to them about flying to the moon, and I say, I've got this opportunity for, whatever, let's call it $33,000 to fly to the moon. And I'm taking it. I'm putting all my life savings in because I just know it's going to change my life.
Yeah.
And how are you going to convince anybody, let alone if you're lucky, your partner would be sort of supportively skeptical, as Helen was, because she believes in me. But it's a massive mindset shift. Concept, first of all, and online universities are still new. We've got a very successful correspondence ones. Those are sort of already, pretty much well worn now. This will become the norm.
Yeah.
There's no ways. Big buildings are, what are they going to do with the skyscrapers? Turn them all into apartments, because that's just dead in the water. Nobody's going to have to go to commute to work anymore. And as we get 4 gig per second digital lines, that's coming so fast now. So, the skepticism, don't leave it behind. And here's the point. I did incredible research. I found 2 articles on independent, I've still got them, I've still got the links to them, from independent people who research everything online in terms of income streams from this kind of a product. And the one guy, it's a highly, highly sought after digital magazine. I think it's called the Digital Examiner. He said it's an expensive product. It's the only criticism he can find. And he joined up. He always joins. He does 1 or 2 basic modules on what everybody wants to offer, and he gives back his comments. And he said, fantastic product, very expensive in terms of, but it does deliver what it says it will. So, I found all that, and then it's just a question of saying, you know what? I don't think I have any other choice in my life at this point in time. Probably what you felt, Dan. You're in a corner. Your corner was emotional, spiritual, I'd call it. Mine was similar, because Steve, as you just picked it up very quickly, it was fascinating that life was about to unfold for me in a different direction. And that book, Science of Getting Rich, is a fundamental core human value science that has staggering repercussions. That's why I'm excited to do a mastermind around this. I don't think people grasp how deep that book is.
Yeah.
And it's not...
mention that book because I give it to every single person that opts into my list. Every single person gets a copy of that book, because I agree with you. It's pretty profound, and it's the same principles that everybody has been teaching for years and years and years.
Absolutely. And as my mentor said to me right in the beginning, this is the fundamentals. Everybody has built their stuff. He was a very, very good salesperson. He just went to the top of every business. Dan, you'd have just so resonated with him as a kind of, he just went straight to the top. Cash registers, it was national cash registers, were the biggest cash, way before your time.
Yeah.
And he went
NCR, every time you went to a store.
NCR, you remember them,
Oh, yeah.
He was the top national salesman within a year, and just he could have done everything. I think everybody wanted him, headhunted him,
Yeah, on sort of a technical level, David, was there anything that you were apprehensive about, afraid of, that worried you, any aspect of stepping into this business that you weren't sure if you could do, and now that you've been in it some time, a couple of years or more, you look back and wonder, why did I even worry about that? It's now second nature. Is there any aspect like that for you?
I think it's a two-edged sword, that question, Steve.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question because, in all honesty, I'm in a phase of learning that, and I think either you said this, Steve, or Jay Kubasek, we call affectionately Kuba, said there's probably no tougher sales journey to do in the world than your first $10,000. In terms of you juggling so many balls in the air that you don't really know even where they are in the air. And so that kind of fear, if I can put it that way, is always there, just riding on my shoulder, as in, I don't know if it's can I do this? It's respect for how difficult this is in one way, but how simple and amazing, because some people just get it and it just flies. You just see people in the system just click and boom, and they're away. For me, it's been, for whatever reason, maybe that's just how it is for my journey. Maybe that will make me a very good teacher of the system. It's been a sort of, amazing results, but I still feel as I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm in a slightly frustrating period at the moment. I don't want to go into that on this call. That could be another whole thing. But there's a sort of a natural human self-doubt that is not a bad thing. And I think people get carried away by, I have very, very personal feelings about our so-called negative emotions. I think they are just twists of the positive that my mentor taught me so well. Mm-hmm. And they're there for a reason. Kid walks towards a cliff edge. Something should well up in that kid with a little bit of falling over that is fearful. And that's natural instincts are created for survival. And when they get out of hand, they can seem like negative, but they're there for a reason. So my skepticism is there for a reason. Look before you leap. Don't be, the teachers said this, follow blindly, but never be blind in your following. And that sums up for me what it feels like. I don't quite know where I'm going yet.
Sure.
Yes, I've had successes, but the roadmaps of those that have walked before me, and that's what I've always looked for, is at least I'm working with people who have done this and done it phenomenally well. So if I can hang around, and if I can, in this particular way, find the funds to get to the best mentoring possible in the system, like going to Oxford, where it's just 4 pupils for 1 mentor. That's how that whole old English university system works. You're not part of a student group, you're just 4. And that's how you taught for the 4 years for your degree. That's what I want, because I know that's how I've learned everything in my life. So that's the goal. Has David got that ability? David, I believe, has the ability to do anything. I can't play Wimbledon, but I've done so much. Why would it be any different? But it doesn't mean it's easy. And why should it be? For heaven's sake, if I crack the system, if I can pull it together in the next, hopefully, within this year, I'll never have to worry about money for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
God willing, Why would that just be like, well, click this, click that, or, try this ad? It's just nothing in life can come that easy. You show me something and you get a rare fluke, some incredible incredible, musicians. Some of these kids at 4 years old are just stunning, but that's a rare 0.0000, as Ali G would say, 0.00000000000000.
Exactly, David. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's you know, if you're going to get a certain result, obviously all things that are going to, you know, achieve things like financial freedom or success in business, it's going to be hard work. Of course it is. You know, people aren't going to come into any buttons and get results. So no, that's a very, very good point, David. So I think, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your story, your journey. Steve, any final points before I put a bow on this?
Actually, if you could answer this, David, I do have one quick little question. Just one quick question. And in one sentence, where do you see yourself in 3 years with this business?
Wow. There is a vision unfolding, Steve. I'm always very, 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 talk about skeptical. I'm not a great one for looking down the road and seeing where I want to be in 5 years' time. Life has its own momentum. I trust life implicitly. I've got a sense in myself now that the bigger picture for me is to be involved in digital product development as a meditator, believe it or not. Awesome. I never thought I'd ever say that. Something is happening. Something's
that. Knowing Steve, I definitely see that. I think that's where your heart and soul is. I think that's absolutely
something like that. You know, I would love. You know, if I could say what my dream would be in once, I'd love to write music for a movie. But I think life has got a slightly different journey for me, and I'm fascinated by what's unfolding. I need to move this business forward, just like the two of you do. There's a sense of, you know, come on, damn it, you know. But I know this feeling. This picture behind me was an epic struggle. You know, you leave your soul on the canvas. Why would this business be any different? So I'm kind of super excited and friggin' frustrated at the moment. But something is unfolding, and I'm fascinated. The science of getting rich. Something is sort of knitting together, and let's just see. And you know, you two are a big part of it. I just know it in my gut. Let's just see.
It's an honor to know you, and I appreciate you doing this with us. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, David. And I think we're all excited to see how your journey's going to unfold as well.
Let's see.
Happy that we're all in this together. Very exciting. Guys, thank you very much. David, thank you again for sharing your time today. Steve, thanks for your time as always. And until next week on the Steve and Dan Show, where we'll have another special guest. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye.